Four divisions, four hosts, all battling it out for the Holy GrAHL of the American Hockey League, the Calder Cup. This is the Holy GrAHL podcast with Andrew Rinaldi, Deana Weinheimer, Jeremy Paul, Michael Liu, and Zack Power.
Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of Field Pass Hockey's Quest for the Holy GrAHL. Here at the Holy GrAHL, we're all about all things American Hockey League and this year's race for the Holy GrAHL, the Calder Cup. But before we get too far into this, let's see who's on the screen and we'll go in alphabetical order. We'll start with Andrew.
All right. Always setting the pace. For those who are just joining in, I'm Andrew Rinaldi. I cover the Chicago Wolves and Grand Rapids Griffins for Field Pass Hockey. This is my second year. We're right in the meat of the second season. And yeah, that's me. I already used my long walks on the beach line. So that's I'm all out of personality now.
Your entire personality is just based on long walks on the beach.
It's gotten me way further than I thought at this point. So now I don't know how to add more to it.
I understand. But anyway, hi, y'all. Wow. Hi, I'm Deana Weinheimer. I am the Cleveland Monsters, one of the two Cleveland Monsters beat writers here at Field Pass Hockey and the AHL editor. I prefer long paddles on the water as opposed to walks on the beach, but I think we've already had this discussion before. So yeah, I'm going to turn it over to the next person over here.
Jeremy.
There.
I know the directions are so challenging. What's up, everyone? I'm Jeremy Paul. I am in my first season with Field Pass Hockey, covering beat for the Rochester Americans. Really glad to be on. Andrew, I just have to say that if your whole personality is walks on the beach, Michigan just might not be the state for you, my friend. But do what you got. You got a lot of shoreline. You've got a lot of shoreline to work with.
Yeah, you just got to find the right beaches, you know?
And I'm Zack Power. My Tinder profile isn't so glamorous with long walks on the beach or pedals in the water. Unfortunately, I don't use much super likes, but I'm from Newfoundland and Labrador, but I'm currently covering the Toronto Marlies for Field Pass Hockey. Okay, so on that note, I think we do have some breaking news, and I will take it down to the person who's in that corner.
And that would be me. So before we begin, unfortunately, we do have to have another trigger warning before we start this segment of the show due to yet another a sexual abuse, or actually this one is sexual assault situation. This time it is involving the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. So just like in last week's show, if this is something that you choose not to listen to, I will be putting a timestamp in the show notes. For those of you on YouTube, just check out in the description. There will be a comment or a timestamp down there too. So you can jump ahead to where we talk about some player awards that are coming up. Also, same as last week, I will be putting in a couple of resources each for the United States and Canada if you are needing mental health help or help with sexual abuse or anything like that. So there was actually supposed to be a press conference on Tuesday at 3:00 Eastern regarding Aaron Scaldi. There was a civil lawsuit that is going to be filed, I believe, in Rhode Island against Clark Donatelli, Bill Guerin, the Penguins organization as a whole, Mario Lemieux, and others that are basically it's going to be detailing sexual assault and cover up by the team. So like I said, that was supposed to be happening, but a report of a second woman has come out who is also talking about a sexual assault by John Clark Donatelli, who at the time of everything happening was actually the head coach of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Scaldi's husband, Jared, was an assistant coach with the team at the time. So basically, the lawsuit, again, that is going to be filed will be stating that sexual abuse took place on a team road trip to Providence, Rhode Island on November 11th, 2018. And basically that the team's handling of the incident included Jared being told, and once again, Jared was an assistant coach and the husband of the woman who is filing this lawsuit. Basically, it is saying that he was told to keep quiet by organization management, and that Erin was being called a liar, and that she was never interviewed as part of the team's internal investigation. And also, Jared was fired from the organization after that. A release from the lawyer that is going to be handling this case, Romanacci and Blandon LLC, also states that the Penguins organization has made public comments that show an utter disregard, and this is a direct quote, an utter disregard for the experience of a sexual assault victim, and have re-traumatized her multiple times. And this is a quote that is continuing. The complaint is expected to be filed in state court in Rhode Island where the abuse occurred. And then it goes through a list of the defendants. So unfortunately, this is, like I said, a second time in as many shows that we're having to talk about this. But this time, we have a woman that is the wife of a coach that is the victim in all of this.
And from my understanding, this is not the first time that this particular coach has done it. I've already forgotten his name, but honestly, I don't really care. He's a monster. He used his position of power to his disgusting advantage. And on top of that, this is, like you alluded to, this is the second time we're talking about this in as many weeks. And I understand, this originally, this story broke last year and it's coming around again, but how many times does this have to happen? Why don't I'm at a loss for words if anyone can't tell, but what lengths are we as human beings willing to do and willing to hurt and willing to sacrifice for what? A shiny trophy? I mean, I get the glory and all that, but is it really worth it in the end to destroy people's lives like this? I don't know. I'm at a loss. I really am.
I think, well, and like, I think this is like one of those things that's more indicative. I think when we recorded last week, we hadn't gotten a chance to hear from Kyle Beach, about his situation and just, his bravery, his courage to come out and tell his story. Last week, I don't think that we are at the end of this, right? Like, I think, when we're having these conversations, and as frustrating as it is for us to take a second week in a row to talk about things like this, what I think the four of us, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but what I think I know to be true is that we recognize that this is a hockey culture issue, and it's not going to stop the reporting is not going to stop anytime soon. Once somebody comes out and is brave enough to start reporting, we've seen it in many different issues in pop culture. We've seen it all over the place. More people are going to be empowered to speak up about their experiences, and people are going to have to face the noise. People are going to have to answer for their actions in covering things like this up. I think we're at a point now where there are hockey fans, myself included, that have just been so absolutely disgusted in the last week and a half that it's been really hard to even feel good about being a hockey fan, right? And so, moving forward, as we continue to learn more about issues like this, I hope that they're minimal, but in spaces like this, we have to talk about it, right? Like, as hard as it is for the four of us to sit here and to talk about it, if we don't talk about it, then this gets brushed under the rug, and it continues to be a part of the culture. And we have to challenge that. We have to speak out against it. We have to be pissed. Like, we have to be mad about it. And it's a really hard place to be in, but we have to do it for the survivors.
I do just want to give a quick, no words can really describe the amazing work that Rick Westhead has done in covering the Kyle Beach situation. And I'm going to go a little bit off topic. Normally I try to stay kind of cool, calm, and collected, but this has gotten to the point that, like, if I'm getting fired up, it's, yeah. But yesterday, as we're recording this, so that would have been Monday, there was a press conference about all of this, mainly the Kyle Beach situation, with Gary Bettman with the NHL. And I believe it was 46 minutes. I mean, and again, Rick Westhead has been the leader in this coverage. He's been the one that, I mean, if you have not checked out his work yet, please do. And it took 46 minutes for him to be called on after multiple other reporters had, follow-up questions, second chances of questions. So I also want to say Pierre LeBrun, who basically conceded his question and said, no, actually, you're going to let him ask his question. I'm glad to see that that different hockey journalists are stepping up to recognize that, these questions need to be answered. And also to the Boston Bruins, Patrice Bergeron and their head coach, Bruce Cassidy, actually had the entire team sit down and watch Kyle Beach's TSN interview together because they felt it was important to watch it together as a team. So I know this kind of goes off the Wilkes-Barre Scranton thing, but these are things kind of following up from last week that need to be said, especially with the whole hockey culture thing. It's definitely, you can see that old guard versus new guard, or the generational differences. And hopefully we see more of what we are seeing here with, Pierre LeBrun, getting Rick Westhead the opportunity to ask his questions, and what we're seeing out of the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, kind of to touch on the culture thing, to kind of help tie it in with the Wilkes-Barre thing. This has been known, like I said, for a year now publicly. Bill Guerin is now the GM of the U.S. Olympic team, replacing Stan Bowman, who also had a cover-up. Last week, I kind of alluded that Kevin Cheveldayoff was probably not going to have his job. He still got his job, despite not being a senior member of the organization, which I guess assistant general manager doesn't really qualify these days, which I kind of need to update my resume if that's what senior doesn't qualify for anymore. But just trying to get some humor in there. And then you're looking at these efforts to kind of silence the work that Rick's doing here. We can open up as many dialogues as we need to, because it definitely needs to be done. We need to talk about this, but from a root standpoint, how do you change the culture? Talking about it is one thing, but if the people at the top don't care, they don't care about what happens to these people. What do we do? I keep saying we need to demand more from the organizations that we spend money on, we buy tickets for, we purchase cable packages to watch their games. But if that's what it takes, is to take our dollars out of there to send a message, I really don't know what else is going to get across to it, because the precedence is that, there are things that matter to these people more than I don't know, morality, life, the well-being of their own employees. And their families. I don't know. Again, I'm just at a loss for words on this.
And Kevin Cheveldayoff was labeled as a minor player in this, with all the accusations and whatever. So it really brings the question is who's considered a minor player and who isn't. And I guess if you start setting that precedent in one way, you'll have to in another. So I guess a lot of the same kind of things will carry over from Chicago now to Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Okay, let's move on. But first, I want to give a quick plug down to the numbers that are down below in the comments, in the description. You'll find it there. It'll be there. All right, let's turn things over now because it is the end of the month. And that means we do have some players of the month. And I promise that I'm not going to butcher any names. That's why Andrew has so greatly volunteered to say Poltorowski?
That would be Chicago Wolves captain Andrew Podorowski. And I've had quite a bit of practice in saying that over the month because holy shnikes, did this guy have an October for him. In 6 games, he put up 5 goals, 9 assists for 14 points. And after that stumble out of the gate in the opening night, he's just led this team to just a red hot October, and he's the guy obviously leading the way. He was named the captain this offseason, the first captain that the Wolves have had in 4 years. He's a guy who signed in the offseason with Carolina. He had played previously before with Coach Warsofsky over in Charlotte, so there was some familiarity there, and Coach really played up about how this guy, he's obviously a real leader in the locker room, but he really leads by example out on the ice, just getting it done, not just with his natural skill, but I mean, he comes to play every night. He puts the work in, and he expects as much out of all of his teammates. And this award is well deserved. I mean, he really put up on Sunday with 3 goals and 2 assists on Halloween night, which would probably be about the scariest thing anyone in Grand Rapids has seen in a long time. And it's been a treat to watch him so far. And I think he's just getting started. I said earlier in the season that him coming into a familiar system already with the talent and the work ethic that he's got on a loaded Wolves team, I think this guy's priming up for an MVP run here.
I hope to see him in the NHL sometime soon, but I'm just waiting for that day where he gets called up and we'll have him in that "You're Growing Up So Fast" segment, which will, shameless plug that you keep listening.
Well, I think the biggest thing working against them right now, unfortunately, is that Carolina's 8-0. They can barely find room for Seth Jarvis in the lineup. So, unless they get hit with a couple injuries here, it's like who sits for them, It's kind of unfortunate, but I think Podorowski's just going to keep working and wait for his chance, because if he keeps this up, they're going to be forced to play him. There's no other way around it.
And Carolina's had such a strong farm team for such a long time too. Man, oh man. Okay, let's turn to the pipes, where one team in the Atlantic is certainly glad to have Philip Blimberg between the pipes in the month of October, winning all 4 of his starts. Blimberg posted a 1.71 goals against average and a .942 save percentage. Everything that's thrown his way, boy oh boy, he's been good. Goaltending has been the story for Wilkes-Barre, though. You got to admit, guys.
I mean, it's almost hard to believe. Like when I was looking at this, when I was, looking at the awards release, I'm like, well, what do they have behind him? And of course, like a name that's familiar to hockey fans, I'm sure, is Louis Domingue. He was the one that baked, right, in the bubble. Am I wrong?
Louis Domingue, yeah. He actually has a cookbook. If it's not out, it's coming out, which I am very much looking forward to purchasing that.
And we're all gonna have to buy it because he's out here making saves, folks. Like he's like this tandem is good. It's really good to this point, and it's been impressive to watch.
Yeah, he
Well,
was
I mean,
this.
if you, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I mean, if you look at Wilkes-Barre Scranton's goals for and goals against, that tells you everything you need to know that goaltending is bailing them out of a lot of situations. They have
100%.
17 goals for and 15 goals against?
Yeah, low scoring, but they're scoring more than their opponent. Like,
but that's a concerning stat. So yes, if your goaltender is bailing you out, like we see here, they absolutely deserve this award for sure.
And I think Domingue was actually the starter for Arizona at one point. They kind of had a goaltending carousel going on. All right,
they
let's
could use him now.
You want to come back? I mean,
Yeah.
Some things never change.
No. At least they got those blank contracts to look at. So, boy, oh boy. All right, let's turn now to the Rookie of the Month, where after a season-ending injury, and I think one of our writers on this might know a little bit about this player. Jack Quinn has retained his rookie status for the 2021-22 campaign, and there's a little bit of leeway that the AHL gives. It's a certain amount of games played throughout a period of time. And boy, it could really pay off in his trophy case. That is for sure. 6 games he's played, 10 points, 5 goals, 5 assists. First player to match that milestone. And that is before Andrew
Podorowski
decided to go beast mode.
I think that's the thing that's most. I mean, I was following along with the Amerks game there on Sunday, and the tweet of first player in the AHL to get to 10, and then I'm looking at the stats here this weekend, and I'm like, how the hell is somebody at 14? And obviously, like we said, Andrew Podorowski is just like what happened on Sunday, right? But yeah, like I talked about last week, like Jack Quinn is somebody that I think like this Amerks team is like glad to see him kind of rebound from that injury, kind of produce. I mean, he's already scored more this season in 6 games than he scored last season in 15, even when he was healthy. And I think, that first line is no joke in Rochester. And between Sean Malone and JJ Peterka, Quinn's going to keep getting some points. As long as he's not caught up to the Sabres, he's going to keep racking in points. And like Zach said, it could be good for his mantle.
And he's a part of a really, really strong North Division. Boy, oh boy. It's like Goal City. Like that is the place to go. And I'm sure we'll have some nice picks in our game of the week, which we'll have shortly. But Cole Caulfield, speaking of the North, sent down to Laval. What is this?
Sent down or sent up? Because
well, Laval's I guess they're higher in the standings.
Yeah, it's further north.
I have seen so many people give Cole Caulfield in the last few days so much grief about how he isn't producing. But how can you look at this young player and say that he's the problem when the entire Montreal Canadiens team is not doing what they should be doing? That opens up a whole nother discussion of, was last season just a fluke? Or I don't know. I don't think Cole Caulfield's the problem. I think once he, gets goes across town to Laval, gets in with the AHL team, he's going to tear it up. He'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think he's just under a bit of a microscope there, and I'm not just saying that because he's 5'6", but he really came out on fire in the playoff run last year, and when you see that, you think, okay, well, it's immediately going to translate, but he's only got a handful of games of experience under his belt, and he's 20, 21, maybe. I'm not exactly sure on that. I probably should have done my homework, but at any rate, he's gonna struggle. He's gonna go through these through these developmental pains, and I think it would be better for him to be down in Laval. I think that's what they should have done with Kotkaniemi. I think that's what they did with Kotkaniemi. Here's another youngster that Montreal just kind of, I think they rush their kids in there because they're so desperate for that next big stud without realizing that, like, you got to learn to walk before you can run. And for as amazing as Caulfield was last in the postseason last year, it's a different monster when you have to trudge through an 80-game season, and we're early here, but yeah, with the struggles that this roster's been going through, I don't see any benefit to have him up there and just continue to work on his game at this level. It's gotta, I think he'll be way better served down there in Laval, where he can grow, and he can grow naturally, and he doesn't have the pressure of the Montreal media all over him, because everyone was a little nuts with the 40 goal predictions this year. I mean, let's be real. And just give the kid some room to grow. That's all I ask. I think he's still going to be a special player, but I think the brakes needed to be pumped on some expectations here.
I think that's pretty much a habit that Montreal's had in the past couple of seasons, is they've just been rushing their talent. So, we really need a center. So they'll go out and they'll draft a center. And
did you mean to say like habit, or was that just a total Freudian slip?
I want to say it's a bit of both. I mean, I can't take credit. All right. Let's switch over to Lehigh Valley, where Gerald Mayhew, who's been absolutely killing it over the past while, tallied his 100th career AHL goal on Saturday against the Syracuse Crunch, and he's had a fantastic season.
I mean, he's had a fantastic career. He's always been one of the big name snipers in this league, and 100 goals, that just goes to prove it. He was one of the reasons why I thought Lehigh Valley was going to win that division. Now, just goes to show how smart I am, how they're sitting there with 0 wins still. Someone explain that one to me, but I tell you, it's not a Mayhew's fault.
No, and that's for sure. And how about Nathan Legray with his first AHL goal, and one to remember against as we turn over the OT winner against the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins to bring them over Springfield. And I don't know if you guys were watching that, but the highlight of it on Twitter, I think that was worth the price of gold kind of thing. It was a 4-on-3 sort of thing, and he just waiting at the point for that puck sort of thing, and all set for the one-timer, and he did not miss. That is for sure. What a tear.
I mean, anytime you get your first goal, it's one to remember, but to have it happen in that kind of fashion where, your team, especially going up against, Springfield, they're the top of your division. They battled back. There was so much drama heading into that moment, and for him to be able to take a hold of it, it's just always fun to see. That's the fun side of hockey that I absolutely love.
And that's for sure. And we were talking about some killer goaltenders, but and in the past couple of weeks, we've really had a blast from the past. But I think Zane McIntyre is definitely a blast from the past for me. And he finally has a contract again. Boy, oh boy, he's going to the Roadrunners.
Yeah, he was in Lehigh Valley last season. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of wondering when it would happen. I mean, with Lehigh Valley last season, he did really well. He spent some time in the KHL too. I mean, he's always been a nice solid goaltender. So whenever all the free agency goalies started going off the list and he was still there, I was a little bit confused as to why it didn't happen. So yep, he finally gets that PTO. Smart pickup, I think.
And somebody we talked about last week for registering a shutout was, I'm going to say this wrong for sure. Ivan Prosvetov. We'll say that was right. For Tucson, gets called up. Carter Hutton's hurt in Arizona, so obviously a need in goal for the Roadrunners. So a good pickup, one would say, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I think one of my early memories of Zane McIntyre is when he was playing for the Marlies, and this is going way off topic now. He had these pads. I remember they were white and blue pads, and they actually had like the Marley Maple Leaf kind of logo on the pads. And I thought it was pretty funky when he got called up at the end of the season where the points didn't matter. And he showed up in like a full Marlies uniform head to toe to play against the Panthers. But, that's another story.
It sounds sharp though. I need to find pictures. I am all about like goalie helmets and pads and just that whole aesthetic. I'm a fan.
I think he actually had a diving poke check in that, and I think that's the reason why I remember it, because I remember Don Cherry yelling about it. Oh, this is the greatest thing I ever seen. Okay.
that imitation though.
Oh, speaking of other oofs, maybe one that could have been a more serious oof. Hershey Bears, ops people, dodgeball on ice. Come on, guys. Really?
That's an oof.
Really?
Whose idea was that? That's my only question out of the whole thing is who. Well, that and someone came up with this idea. Then it got passed through the ranks, and someone else said, "Okay, let's run with it." And then, like, someone else handed like dodgeballs to people standing on a slippery ice surface. Not one voice came up and said, like, let's put some pillows down first or something, like,
or let's not do this at all.
Or let's not do this at all. That's Hershey. I love me some Hershey Bears, but that's an oof.
I mean, it's the fact that they had the fans on the ice. Well, first of all, let's set this up for people that don't know. So what happened was it was one of those intermission games between one of the matchups between Cleveland and Hershey. And so they had a group of, I think it was like 5 fans stand along the wall against the penalty boxes. Same amount of fans were over against the boards in front of the player benches. Then around that center face-off dot, they had like 5 balls, a couple cones, and things like that. So they had the fans take off running to meet in the center to start the game of dodgeball. Now, this could have been okay, but it's the fact that they had these people running on ice. And if you look at the people's shoes, some of them were wearing like loafers, not like good ice shoes. So unfortunately, as one of the fans started slowing down once he got towards the center part of the ice to be able to bend down and pick up a ball, his feet got out from under him. He fell back, and the helmet that he had on actually came off, and he ended up hitting his head on the back or actually hitting the back of his head on the ice. They did have to have a stretcher come out. Luckily, he in time was okay and was able to get up with some help, and he walked off. But yeah, I don't know why they thought it was a good idea. And if you're going to do it again, at least check that the helmets are on tight.
I mean, it kind of puts me like, whenever I've seen people on the ice for something like this, it's in those big protective giant bubbles, right? Like it's in like bubble soccer or bubble hockey or whatever. And it's just there's room for that kind of stuff, but it has to be done in a way that like manages risk and keeps people safe. And this was not done in that way.
And I remember even seeing like sometimes where they'll have like, oh, you got to move from station to station sort of thing. You shoot the puck from here, you shoot the puck from there, but you're not like full out sprinting, hoping to get there before someone else does. Right. Or you use like little tricycles as they go around. Like those are, I always think back to like the stands. Like at what point did like the game crew be like, oh, I got to go grab someone out of the stands? And then, and then what kind of thought do you have going through your mind as someone says, "Hey, do you want to come down and play dodgeball?" But boy, oh boy, that was whew, I don't know. So
But we do want to send our best wishes to
For
the
sure.
injured band. Unfortunately, I guess I shouldn't say unfortunately. I guess no news is good news. There have been no updates regarding that, and we just hope that he's okay. It was scary. I hope that everyone who was in attendance are okay too, because I know that's a very scary thing to witness live.
and I think it's one of those things where it goes back to like the kind of the safety around some of the stuff, and you always hope that he's okay first and foremost, right? And the fans okay, but hopefully next time now we'll have some more, fun and safe stuff. It's not entirely necessary to go out and, run for a ball, as cool as it might be.
Definitely lessons were learned.
Yeah. And speaking of learned lessons, I hope you enjoyed your super likes and I hope you use them wisely, because guess what? It's the beginning of a new month. You know what that means.
Oh yeah,
But
Deana, that felt like shade.
What?
I said that felt like shade to Deana for not using one of her super likes.
I didn't use mine either.
I ended up using mine on whatever Zach's pick, whatever his pick would have been. I had enough faith in it that I went ahead and super liked it, even though it didn't have a full profile mixed up. I had good feelings there. So I did end up using it at the last second.
A bold strategy to super like a blank profile, but I like it.
Hey, I think that whatever I would have written would have been just as good. So I guess we'll start off with Andrew.
You know it always. So I got a pretty good hot take here to start off November. So as we kind of alluded to before, the North Division has just been kind of crazy to start off here. Just a lot of goals, a lot of comebacks. We had a line brawl. I mean, it's had everything you wanted. And my very first hot take of the year was that like the Pacific Division, which was kind of wasn't going to be nearly as cool as it was last year. I think the North is taking over the mantle. I think it's going to be tightly packed. If you look at the standings, I mean, there's not a whole lot of separation in there. I mean, yeah, you got Utica that's undefeated, but they've only played 4 games. Every team, with the exception of Belleville, is sitting there at 4 wins. So it's wide open. I mean, you look at all like big amounts of goals. Laval's already got 30. I mean, that's just absurd. And then the penalty minutes, everyone else, you look at the Atlantic, they're barely scratching 80. Meanwhile, Toronto's here at 189, 111, 91, 179. So it's a madhouse in the North, and I am here for it. I love it. This is going to be the best division this year.
I think my hot take from last week is a pretty cold take now, considering that the Marlies have 27 penalty minutes per game averaged right now. Like that's making my prediction come to shame, but I'm going to swipe right on it. The game between Laval and Rochester this weekend, just, down 3-2 for the Amherst, up 5-3. Laval comes back 5-5. Amherst win in overtime 6-5. The Amherst let up 7 goals against Belleville. Belleville's putting up goal. I mean, it's nutty. It's just absolutely nutty. It would be brazen for me to give you a super like here, Andrew, because it is the first one of a long month. But I have to say, I'm tempted, but I'm just going to give you a normal like here.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat too. I don't know if I'll ever use a super like. I think it's been really good hockey, and I think that Laval has been really a fun team to watch kind of thing so far this year. They had a really nice line brawl against Toronto sort of thing. And so that was one of the things that we were typing in our little group chat is, you know, you got to turn this on like right now. This is like go, 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 line brawl, go, right? And so I think that it's been a really fun and entertaining North Division. Is it going to be the best? I think Hershey could swoop out of nowhere yet.
If Hershey were in the North, I would have given this a super like, because the action between Cleveland and Hershey this past weekend, especially between Brett Gallant and Dylan McElrath, of course, the longtime Grand Rapids Griffin.
Mhm.
I mean, they got into a nice fight. Talk about a battle of the heavyweights. Oh my
No,
God.
that was a couple of grizzly bears going at it there.
Bears. Hershey, it's the Hershey Grizzly Bears now, apparently. Yeah, if Hershey were in the North, I mean, that turned into a game that looked like a rivalry game, even though they're not rivals. So if you were almost there, but there was something lacking, but I'll go ahead and swipe right, just not enough for a super swipe.
You know, just the fact that I was like inches away from 3 super swipes there, I gotta say I'm doing something right. I'm starting to get to my groove.
It was good work.
Good job. Good job. Well, I guess I'm next. So as we kind of already talked about, and I'm going to keep on that North Division train. We all know Utica is up at the top right now. They have a 4-0 record, but they've only played 4 games. Now, most of the other teams in the division have played 7, 8 games. I don't think Utica keeps this up. Utica's going to falter at some point. I honestly think at the end, it's going to be Cleveland and Rochester battling it out for the top of the North Division.
You know, I've never not swiped right on one of your takes. I've never done that. And it's not because of Cleveland. The thing about Rochester is that they're scoring, right? Like they're scoring. They are also getting scored on. Like they are, my season preview, my hot take, my lukewarm take was that the Amerks are going to let up less than 4 goals a game. They're not. They are letting up 4.5 goals a game right now. Like it's been shoddy goaltending at this point. And I think on the days that the offense just doesn't generate, that team is struggling. And on the days that it does generate, that team is winning 6-5 in overtime. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think Rochester is going to be battling with Cleveland at the top. I think Cleveland will find its way at the top. So it's kind of like I can't swipe right because of the full take I just can't agree with. But I see Cleveland. I just don't see Rochester right now. So sorry to all my Amerks listeners out there.
That's a fair response. I get it.
Mm-hmm. I'm in that same logic where I can totally see Utica dropping off here, and I'm looking at they've in their 4 games they've scored 15 goals. They got 1 player who's got a third of them, and I don't think Alexander Holtz is going to be staying in Utica for that much longer if he keeps that up. So if he goes, where does that go? I don't see Utica staying up at the top. I'm feeling Cleveland, which will give me enough to swipe right on it. But with Rochester, I like Laval, so I'm gonna swipe right. But then I'm probably gonna ghost you and not talk to you afterwards. But I'm gonna like look at your pictures and see if there's any interest in it with Cleveland. So okay, I'll give you that much.
Again, fair.
Can I do one of those things where you close up the app and open it up again and hope something else is there? Is that a thing?
Oh my
We do
God,
that?
no way. Other people do that. I'm so glad to know I'm not alone.
I do that every now and again. I'm like, I want to sleep on the idea of sleeping with you.
Oh shoot!
And this is the last time that they let me host the show. Congrats!
I missed having Zach on in a big way.
I don't.
You earned this. You earned this.
Now I don't know how I feel about the situation. You see, because I'm in the same boat where I think that Utica is going to fall off a little bit. And full props to them, because this is the first time that I can remember that the Devils franchise has been actually somewhat good. So I think it's one of those things where I'm going to have to swipe left.
Hey, it's all good. If people didn't swipe
sorry.
left, then it wouldn't be a true hot take.
If you let me close the app, I might reconsider.
I'm cool with that.
That's why you do what I do. You swipe right, like maybe you get a match. If you don't feel like, you don't have to message right away, you can just kind of sit on it. Maybe they message first,
Oh, like a spray.
Otherwise you just kind of unmatch it, and you kind of forget that you ever looked at those pictures.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you swipe right, and if it's a match, you panic and unmatch just before they even notice.
Except for that notification that, oh, I got a new match. Oh, no, I don't.
No, I don't.
You're adding a lot of depth into these picks now. Wow.
Yeah,
You've got a lot of experience in that sector.
I know, yeah. Can you tell that like 3 out of the 4 of us are pretty privy to Tinder and may or may not be pushing for a sponsorship at any point in time? So anyway, could you imagine the Holy GrAHL sponsored by Tinder? I'm all about it.
That's great.
Somebody write whoever is in charge of Tinder. I don't know. But I'll throw mine out there next. I think, we've talked a little bit about all of these teams to some extent over the course of the last, week or so. As we record here on Tuesday, there are 8 teams that are poised to miss the postseason. As we're all familiar, the AHL expanding their playoffs pretty significantly this year, and bottom 2 teams in each division not getting in. And right now, those teams will be Providence, Lehigh Valley, Laval, Belleville, Rockford, Milwaukee, Colorado, and San Diego. And I'm going to tell you right here, right now, that one of those teams is going to be in the Calder Cup Finals. Don't care who. 1-8 shot. I'm calling game right now.
Can you repeat the list of teams? Because I missed it, and I bet a bunch of viewers did too.
Yeah, happy to do so. We've got Providence and Lehigh Valley out of the Atlantic. We've got Laval and Belleville out of the North. We've got Rockford and Milwaukee out of the Central. And finally, we've got our friends Colorado and San Diego out of the Pacific.
And Jeremy, I'm going to kind of reiterate or kind of like echo what you said. I don't think I've swiped left on you yet.
I don't think you have.
They're always right next to each other on YouTube. If you look on YouTube, they're always right next to each other. There's a reason for that, because they always just like each like.
It's the Ohio connection.
It's that natural chemistry.
Yeah, but I definitely like Lehigh Valley, Colorado, San Diego. I don't see them making the playoffs. The teams that I could see making a playoff run, especially in this expanded format, I'm not seeing anything that screams finals to me. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to swipe left, my friend.
That's okay. I'm sure we will match again at some point this month.
Oh, guaranteed.
So for me, like, you would ask me preseason of like which of these teams, I would have been like, oh yeah, Lehigh Valley all day. Well, they seem about the last team to get up in there right now. And as I look over these other ones, I mean, Rockford is just kind of they're always, like I said, they kind of always have their stake in the bottom, although Milwaukee's joined them over the last couple of weeks. Courtesy,
I think Milwaukee forgot how to play hockey.
Well, the Chicago Wolves send their regards. I like Laval. And so, like, I want to swipe right, but then I take a look at, like, a couple pictures down the line and, you know, maybe I see an X or something in there and I'm just like, oh, no, I'm not. I'm swiping left. Finals? That's a commitment. You're asking me for a commitment off a swipe. And, like, you know, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. So I'm swiping left.
If you're not going to swipe right for a ring, don't swipe right at all. That's all I've got to say.
Well, I think I'll drop the ring, but it's not going to be a super like. And I think you could pretty well blank out. We said Providence and Lehigh Valley, Belleville, Milwaukee, Colorado, San Diego. But I honestly believe that right now my picks are terrible, so I'll get them in now. I know I'm going to say that Laval is going to be in the finals, and the reason why I say that is because it's been such a crazy North Division. I think that whoever kind of claws their way out of the North Division gets out of that first or second round, right? Laval gets in. Say they get in even on the 4th seed kind of thing, right? I think that they're going to claw their way into like the 3rd round, and then they're going to go up against the Atlantic Division, I guess, in this case. And there you go. So I think that Laval will actually make the finals. So I will give you a like for that one.
I appreciate you for picking up what I'm putting down. That's the team for me that I have circled in that group of 8 that could do it, right? I mean, hey, you know what? Their NHL affiliate did it last year, had no business being in the finals. So let's throw Laval a bone. Let's do it. And especially Cole Caulfield might not be there for long, but I don't feel like I'm making a huge assumption by saying that I don't think the Canadians are making the playoffs this year. So I think Cole Caulfield is going to be looking for a place to play here toward the end of April, early May, and I think I know where you can find him.
Well, I think telekinesis, is that where you read people's minds?
Yes.
I think he has telekinesis because I think that, in my hot take, that Cole Caulfield will not be on the Laval roster by the time the next episode drops. So we're talking like 7 days from when you're listening. He'll have a full weekend in Laval. Laval always plays a Wednesday game. So he'll have like 3 or 4 games. Keep in mind, 2 games last season. I think it was like him and Price or something. And he had like 4 points.
I think kind of I was talking about it earlier in the segment where I think he needs a little more time to work on his game. You know, work on just what to do away from the puck and everything. I mean, when he's got the puck on a rush, you know, there's no question the kid's dynamite. I just think he needs a little bit more to work on all around. I don't think he's going to be in Laval for long, but given the state of Montreal right now, like I said, developmentally for him, does him no good to sit there in a last place roster and just get rocked every night. So I think they're going to want to put him down there for, you know, maybe a month or something, get him some first line time, get him some number 1 power play time. And I have to swipe left on this one. I think it'll be a little longer for Cole. He didn't do enough the beginning of the season in Montreal to prove that, oh, this is just a 2-game stint and he'll be right back up.
Andrew, speaking of telekinesis, he basically said everything I was going to say. So for the interest in time, ditto.
Great minds, right?
Zach, I always want to swipe right, but I just this one, it's hard, right? Because I think you want to develop a player like Cole Caulfield in a winning culture, and not to say that Laval's out here winning every game they play, but it almost feels like a liability to have him on the Canadiens roster right now, like on top of him needing the time to develop, and so you're gonna have to laugh at us all next week when Cole Caulfield's back in Montreal. He's going to have a hat trick in the game he comes up. He's going to make us all look silly, but I'm going to swipe left on this, my friend.
I'm not. Well, you know what? I've never laughed at you so far this season, so maybe this is the time. Okay, let's boogie because we got some great top skaters and point skaters so far. Leading the league in points are two from Chicago. We got
Andrew Podorowski
and
CJ Smith are both leading up the points getters category. And what a streak for Sherwood, hey?
Yeah, Kiefer Sherwood coming out of nowhere for 4 goals in 3 games, skyrocketing him into a 4-way tie for 3rd place for the top points getters in the league. So yeah, I always keep a special eye on Kiefer and Cole Sherwood. They're Columbus area natives. So of course they always have a soft spot in my heart.
And man, Avalanche Twitter is a fun place to be right now because everybody, with all of the injuries that the Avalanche have sustained here over the course of the last week or so, calling and praying for Alex Newhook to be called up. But I think the way that Sherwood's played, I don't know. I think another Kiefer trip up. Well, I guess not up anywhere. But, I think Kiefer might be getting the call up.
And Jack Quinn up there on number 4. He's a rookie. So, I mean, hey, he's definitely getting up there. Top goal scorers, keeping it with Sherwood. He's really played great so far for Colorado. I mean, you guys just mentioned it there. Laurent Dauphin I probably butchered that, of Laval, of that Laval team, who's really lighting up the league in goal scoring, really, especially in their division. Like they're kind of down further in the division, but they're kind of keeping it up with the goals. They're losing in high scoring games.
And good old Jimmy Huntington, he's kind of tied in that second spot with 6 goals, still kind of riding high off of that hat trick earlier on in the season against Cleveland. But yeah, the top 10 all have more than 5 goals. So it's kind of like, a 7-way tie for 3rd place right now. But this is all gonna open up in like a month or so.
Oh yeah, it'll with every game, I suppose, and that like 5-way tie. Polcharovsky, I butchered that. Quinn, Mersch, Dries, butchered that again. Pekka, Holtz, and Hosag. This is why I write and I don't speak, because it's easy for me to copy and paste the names, but it's not so easy for me to say them out loud. So that's good. Points getters. Let's go with the rookies. Jack Quinn leading up that in that Rochester spot. Man, oh man. And I think there's someone on this podcast who might know a thing about Jack Quinn.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, man, he's what interest does Buffalo have in calling him up, right? Like, they're winning games that they, in theory, shouldn't be winning already. Like, what? Leave him in Rochester. I don't know. That's my hot take. And honestly, if they do leave him in Rochester, he's getting hardware this year. It's me probably being a homer, and I'll own it, but he's looked really good in the 6 games he's played.
Hey, can't complain about that. Scott Perrunovich of Springfield, 6 games played, 2 goals, 8 assists for 10 points. He's tied up there at number 2. And Tyler Angle of Cleveland has had 8 assists. I know he had a couple against the Marlies. And boy, oh boy, he could skate out there.
Tyler Angle's just so fun to watch. And we saw it last year in Cleveland, his blossoming chemistry with Liam Foudy. It's amazing. But a quick note on Scott Perrunovich. He's a defenseman, and he is tied for the top in points getters for rookies. That's amazing, but I digress.
A slow week for him, though. He had 9 going into this one, so we'll see if he's slowing down. I'm rooting for him. I think I'm right? Like we talked about him last week. He had 9 points.
Yeah, I think he was leading. He was leading last week, and now, he's kind of dropped off a little bit.
God forbid a defenseman get 10 points in 6 games or whatever.
This is the modern era. The defenseman got to score too.
That's for sure. Rookie goals. We talked about Jack Quid so much. Alexander Holtz. We also mentioned him earlier in the podcast, and I can't see any reason why Utica won't have him. Well, I guess New Jersey won't have him up in the NHL by the end of the year. He's just been absolutely on fire. 4 games, 5 goals. Boy, oh boy. We go down. Iowa as Nick Swaney, Ben McCarthy of Tucson, both tying for that 3rd spot with 4 goals. Lucas Reichel, he had such a great season. He's a great prospect for Rockford too. So, I mean, there's some real good names on that list as well. And goalie shutouts. And Michael Burden, Provestrov, and Stuart Skinner. But I believe the 3 of those are out of the lineup right now for Tucson, Manitoba, and Bakersfield.
Yeah, that leaves A2 Makiniemi. That's Chicago's. They're up there at that top spot. Well, actually, there's quite a number of goalies here with 1 shutout, but he's the first name, and he's a fun name to pronounce, so I just had to jump in there real quick.
There's actually 2 of those names on that top 10 list are actually from Laval, where they both had 2 shutouts, and that's Michael McNiven and Caden Primo, 2 really good prospects. I think eventually we may see Monty Bo back on the Laval side of things, and if he's anything like he's like in the NHL, I know he started for Detroit there. I guess it would be last night or the night before by the time this drops. So you got that going for you there. Okay, the division races. Who's moving up? Who's moving down? The quest for the Holy Grail. That's what we're all about here. And the Seattle Thunderbirds are heading up the Atlantic Division so far, and right behind them is Wilkes-Barre and then Hershey. Who would have known? Hey,
me. I've been pumping Hershey's tires all month. Where have you guys been?
I mean, honestly, the Atlantic is another close one. I mean, basically, there was no movement from last week. Basically, it was just Hershey and Wilkes-Barre Scranton just kind of to switch, for the number 2 and number 3 spot. It's status quo, I guess.
Yeah, whose hot take was it? Our very first episode that Hershey wouldn't make it out of the first round. Was it Zach or Zach?
No, that wasn't me. No, we had some other guy.
Somebody else
in here. Yeah, we had some special
it was Michael,
guests.
It was
Michael.
Pax Zauer.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
That guy.
Yes. So whoever that guy was, you're totally wrong, man. Like, what are you doing? Nobody go back and watch the first episode. We're just no one's allowed to go back and watch previous episodes.
It doesn't exist anymore.
I embarrass myself every week. We're not allowed to go and go back and listen to my picks. But nonetheless, a great season so far for Hershey, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. They got their goalie of the month, and they got some really high-scoring players there. And Springfield, who I don't think I've seen at the top of the division in a long time. So good for them. They got a tight race, but even tighter. The North Division. Boy, oh boy. Leading up that charge is Utica. We talked about Utica earlier in the podcast. I mean, it's obviously bound to happen. Holtz could get called up at any time. Cleveland, Rochester, and Syracuse follow behind.
Yeah. Syracuse.
Is Laval going to come at any time? Like, are they going to? I know they're 6th, but are they going to win sometime soon? Or
Well, they were doing okay. I mean, it's kind of a similar situation. It's the exact same kind of order that the division was in last week, but Laval and Syracuse 4-6 switch. So, I mean, again, we're so new into this season. This is going to start opening up pretty soon, I think, unless it's I mean, we will truly see who the tightly contested divisions are here very soon.
And Zach, of course, Laval's going to win some here and there. I mean, they're going to make the cup final. I don't know where y'all were, but of course, they're going to start winning.
Well, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Speaking of bold picks, someone on this podcast, 2 people, myself included, think that 2 people at the bottom of this division are going to make the finals, or could be. Rockford and Milwaukee head up the basement of the Central Division, while Chicago and Iowa lead the top.
Yeah, Chicago kind of stumbled out of the gate and their home opener, and have since then have just rattled off 5 straight wins and just terrorizing Grand Rapids and Milwaukee, and that's kind of how you see those 2 teams at the bottom there, and Chicago at the top. They just been feasting. Now this weekend, Chicago gets a new face in Manitoba, and we'll see if with a different opponent if it changes up for them, or if the wheels just keep on turning. I was gonna drop some kind of Sticks reference and keep the 80s rock and roll going, but I don't know. I think our viewer base might not catch the wheel in the sky in that one. So you got Chicago. They're right behind with them is Iowa. You got Manitoba, Texas, and then following up in the bottom, Grand Rapids, Rockford, and Milwaukee. I thought Milwaukee was going to be up a lot higher this year. I really liked a lot of the players that were with Chicago last year, but they just maybe it's just a misfortune of Wolves' heavy schedule early on for them. I don't think they're going to stay down there for long, honestly.
It's almost like they forgot how to play hockey in that COVID span.
No, they were playing hockey all right with the
Quite
Wolves.
possibly.
They just when you got A2 Makiniemi, that's the Finnish brick wall, and you got Podoralski there just setting up everyone and just watching the point totals rack up. I can understand it's tough. The couple of those games, they just look gassed chasing the Wolves around. And again, it's a long season, and I don't think it's going to stay that way.
And I guess we'll have to see how they play against Manitoba, as Manitoba kind of does the Chicago, Rockford, and Milwaukee circuit later this weekend. Let's turn things now to the Pacific Division. I dropped the reference in the chat earlier, in our little group chat, that Abbotsford couldn't walk the streets of Bakerfield. I don't think anybody got that old country reference. But Ontario really does have a stranglehold, and close behind are the Heat, really. Boy, oh boy, 6-0-1 for Ontario and 4-0-1 for Stockton.
I mean, they just have a stranglehold for those top spots. And I will say, I forget what picks Andrew, Jeremy, and I had last week when we were talking about who would be the last of the the teams that haven't won. But Colorado, San Diego, they have some victories now, but I don't think we're going to be seeing too many changes in these standings anytime soon.
Well, now, was your Stranglehold reference another 80s rock song drop, or was that totally by mistake?
I didn't realize it was a reference. Now, I take it you're not a Ted
Nugent fan then.
I grew up in a home that listened to 90s country.
All right, so that's a little bit off the path. Okay,
well,
that's
happy accident.
Just like Ted Nugent's career.
No.
So
okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Anyway.
Hit him with the oof.
Oof.
in stereo.
Ooh, now in stereo. Okay. I've been trying to think of some kind of 80s reference for the picks, but I guess I should strum up some new ideas for what do you guys think for the games of the week. We'll start in the Atlantic with Andrew.
Yeah, so for my game of the week in the Atlantic here, I got Sunday night's Springfield at Hershey matchup. Actually, it's Sunday afternoon. This is going to be the third game in 3 for the Bears, and I think by the end of it, we might be seeing who's sitting at the top of the division. So there's going to be some big implications for some tired legs. I want to see how Hershey's responded, but so far they've shown that they can play some stingy defense, and I wouldn't expect anything less here. And also, this is my 4th week in a row where I'm picking a Hershey Bears game as my game of the week in the Atlantic, so I guess you can kind of see where I'm rooting for in this one.
Well, my lips will no longer be sealed about my pick for the Atlantic Division. I'm going to somewhat go the same thought as Andrew, but I'm going to do Hershey versus Springfield on Friday at 7:05. On their game on Saturday against Wilkes-Barre Scranton, the Thunderbirds they had a battle back from a 3-1 deficit to take it to overtime. Honestly, are some cracks starting to show in that armor? If the Bears get heroics again out of goaltender Zack Power and Axel Jonsson-Fjallby like they did against Cleveland, this is going to be quite the matchup.
Yeah, and for me, I think we've talked about Wilkes-Barre Scranton a little bit here today, just in terms of goaltending, goals allowed, goals scored. Talk about a game that could end up being a 1-0 overtime kind of game between Hartford and Wilkes-Barre Scranton. If that's your kind of hockey, that's what you're watching. For me, that's the kind of hockey that I like to watch. Forget the high scoring affairs of today's hockey. Let's go back old school. Let's watch some 1-0 hockey this weekend in the Atlantic.
Jacques Lemaire loves you right now.
And I love Jacques Lemaire.
On a side note, can we drop those 7:05 starts? Can we just say 7 o'clock? Like, would that be the end of the world? But, I mean, shameless plug right now because Lehigh Valley is taking on the Charlotte Checkers, and you can actually catch that on the Field Pass Hockey app. Boom! Boom! But all the same, Lehigh Valley, they've been looking at getting out of that cellar of the basement of the league for a wee bit of time now because I think that they're anxious for a win, and this could be their chance.
They just don't want to make me look good. That's really what it goes down to.
Well, I'm on the same boat as you, man. I think that eventually they're going to be there. To the north. Andrew. Yoo-hoo.
Yeah, I muted myself there. My bad. So for my game of the north here, or game of the week in the north, wow, I'm really on a roll. This is going to be a little distant for Thursday, but I'm going all the way to Wednesday, November 10th. We're going Rochester at Wilkes-Barre Scranton. I love these interdivisional matchups. So we got some Atlantic and North action going on here. Mainly because I think these are good measuring sticks to kind of get away from your usual division rivals and see where you match up against other teams that you don't normally play against. Sometimes you get a little too familiar. You're beating up on the same squads. How do you respond against a team that you only see 4 times a year? So I think that'll be a good one. You get a couple teams that are battling for the top of the division here, and I like the Wednesday games.
Well, Utica is going to be living on a prayer. It's their turn for the dreaded road 3-3 this weekend, but I'm going to be going with their matchup on Friday against Syracuse at 7 o'clock. Out of the 3 teams that they're going to face, Syracuse, honestly, in my opinion, has the best chance of finally breaking that streak that Utica has going. And honestly, I think I've already said it before, but how in the world have they only played 4 games? It's crazy.
Without a doubt. And for me, I look at, two teams that have played a couple times already this year between Belleville and Cleveland. Belleville hasn't been able to figure out the monsters yet. And I wonder if this is the time that they do it. Like we said, Belleville can put them up, but they haven't been able to do so against the monsters. So is this going to be the week they can do it? And so I'll be paying attention to that one.
And to your point, a lot of the games that are scheduled, you actually get to pick a chunk of the games on whether or not you want to take a 10-game road trip. And I believe a couple of years ago, I did up the stats, and Utica had actually some of the lowest travel miles. Nonetheless, speaking of Utica, Friday's match against Syracuse, boy, oh boy, I know it's been said, but it needs to be said again. Like, this is the game to kind of watch. And it's exciting to see that a New Jersey Devils franchise AHL team is kind of doing half good in the American League, because Bingo wasn't really great for a little while. So it's good to see that they're back rolling again.
Yeah, moving on to the central game of the week. I got Saturday's matchup, Manitoba at Chicago. So this is going to be the first time that the Moose and the Wolves have met since March 1st of 2020. Sometimes this whole COVID thing just really messes up my perception of time, but it's been that long. So yeah, we're gonna see some teams reunite, and obviously you got your leading scorer Podorowski on fire with the force of 1,000 suns. Let's see him keep it rolling.
Personally, I'm going to be watching Grand Rapids at Rockford on Saturday at 6:00. I mean, these teams, they got a bust to move. They're bringing up the rear of the East. These are some desperately needed points for both of them. Plus, Jonathan Berggren, need I say more?
For me personally, I'm not picking teams. I'm not picking games. I am picking Andrew Podorowski. Any game he's playing, I'm watching it until his streak ends. 5 games in a row, 2 or more points per game. I'm watching him.
My man.
Hey, I think the Central Division matchup is really going to be within Manitoba, and they're going to go for that 3-3. And I'm looking at Milwaukee on Friday. This is the big the start of a circuit for Manitoba and how they'll play for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, going on the Pacific here. I got Sunday's game, Colorado at Ontario, and let's just give a cheer. The Eagles won a game. So I think they got a busy week. They got 4 games this week coming up here, and they're going to be finishing up with the powerhouse of the division. But I love a good underdog story, so I'm hoping that the legs hold up for the Eagles. I hope they skate away with an upset here.
Now, my pick, it's tricky, but honestly, can anybody beat Ontario at this point? Somebody has to, and that someone might be the Bakersfield Condors. Ontario's coming into Bakersfield on Saturday night with a 7-11-3 record against the Condors on the road over the past 5 seasons. The last time these two teams met was on the 22nd of October, 3-2. New month, new victor.
Hey, it could be true, but I'm hanging out in the cellar this weekend personally. I'm taking Colorado and San Diego. At the time we're recording this, San Diego has 1 win, but folks, they have the best power play in the AHL. Doesn't make sense. They do have the worst penalty kill, that kind of tracks. And again, as we talked about, whether or not Kiefer Sherwood gets called up, that could be fun to watch. So we'll look to see if he does.
Keep with those 80s references. Don't stand so close to me was probably a big one for San Jose. But I would like to see how they play against Texas because I think that once they got called up to the NHL, even if they're called back down by the time that they play on Saturday, I think that there's lots of confidence that'll be going around with that San Jose club. So seeing them play against Texas could be interesting for sure. Okay, they grow up so fast. Boy, oh boy. Joel Veleno called up Saturday morning, carpooled with Stevie Yzerman. Imagine that. And scored a beautiful assist in his debut. Hey,
I want to know what they talked about in the car ride to Toronto. I honestly like as great as he played in that game. What was the playlist in the car? That might be the biggest question, the biggest story of the week.
It started with Joe Valena saying, "You're sure you've got it going to Toronto, Ontario, right?" That's how it started.
Not Toronto, Ohio.
Right.
Because yes, there is a Toronto, Ohio.
Is it bigger than Grand Rapids?
Unclear.
That I don't know. I know their marching. Whenever I was in high school, their marching band was amazing, and we could never beat them. But anyway,
There's another young buck that grew up on Sunday night. That's former Wolf Seth Jarvis. Finally made his debut, breaking in that Carolina lineup and getting an assist for his trouble. He was the leading scorer in the AHL and for Chicago before he left for Portland. And now look at him on the big club. They grow up so fast.
Okay, so I think that it's time for the bonus round. And so I won 2 weeks ago. I know you guys did your little bragging rights, but here's the real test, okay? And what I did for fairness, so we don't get any dollar bids, is whoever's closest to the actual number will take home our Holy GrAHL, as it were. Moving to the bonus round, we know that there's been a lot of AHL teams that have come and gone through the years. I'm not going to make you sit down and count how many there were, because I'm sure that there's somebody in this podcast who would know. But in the American side of things, in the 52 states, how many states have had an AHL team at one point or another? There's a bit of thought here. There's 52
hey, I
states
just now thought, did you say 52 states
in America.
Oh no!
No, I'm the Canadian here. No,
It's the 50 nifty United States.
States from the 13 original.
Original
We
colonies.
haven't officially added Puerto Rico and Canada yet,
Oh.
so we're still at 50.
Canada.
50 Guam.
Oh no! It's hit the
Okay,
rail.
is that
I'm gonna-
now in the oof category?
I've
That
played
doesn't
enough
go
to
in
watch where this is going.
That doesn't go.
Okay, I need to sit down and try to think
Okay,
about this.
yeah. So
I'm just gonna
let me
say a number.
re-ask that question without that last little Canadiana in there. Okay, how many how many states have had an AHL team at one point or another? And Canada does not count as a state.
I've got my number. I've got my number. Should I say it?
I've got my number.
I got mine as well.
We'll just go boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
23.
I was going to say 20.
I'm going to say 27.
Boy, there have been 30 states in America
Oh boy.
that
Whoa!
have had a team at one point or another. I actually had the list, and then my computer crashed. So, if you had his AHL's team at one point, congrats. If you didn't, you're one of the 20, 21 if you consider Canada. But yeah.
Well,
Wow.
Jeremy, congratulations.
Congrats.
Wow.
Me
Good
saying
job.
last week that I would never win a bonus round. Wait, was that the
No,
only
that
question?
was
I
the
don't want to
Jeremy
claim
James.
victory. I don't want to claim victory yet.
You won.
You won.
You
Oh my
want
god, it feels fake.
Yeah.
It feels fake.
Hey,
I feel.
How do you think I felt when I bid $1? I was like, what?
Oh, how do you-
Who wins
okay.
with $1?
oh, there. We got it. We got to work on that. I was like, don't leave me
I wasn't
hanging.
trying to leave you hanging. I was just very
I assure
directionally
you, you're not
challenged.
an Atlanta sports team. Your victory is real.
Oh no.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
On that note,
Okay. On that note, I think it's time that we end the podcast. Hopefully not forever after those comments, because I think we lost half our viewership. Sorry, Atlanta fans.
Oh, no. Yeah, Atlanta, big hockey market, as we've come to find out over the last like 25
They got
years.
an ECHL team now. They're doing good.
Pressures.
Gladiators. They're called the Gladiators now.
Thrashers.
He left. All right, and I think it's,
don't hate me, Atlanta
Oh.
Market. I have a framed picture of Ilya Kovalchuk hanging
there
out in my
you
room.
go. See,
So,
Nice.
I say it with love, but what are the odds? 28-3. That's
Boy.
another kind of joke.
this whole hosting bit, I feel like it's SNL. This is great. If you liked us, please subscribe, like, share, rate this podcast, and tell all your friends and family, your neighbors, tell your coworkers, tell the McDonald's drive-through employee that they need to watch this. If you really like us, follow us on Twitter. Also, be sure to check out Field Pass Hockey's other podcast. A lot of these people that you see on the screen, they have them. This is, Inside the SPHL with James Hayes, Syracuse Speaks, Alexander Ackerman. What a great podcast. Monsters Musings, Andrew GrAHL, Deana Weinheimer, and Jay Forrester. The 3 Periods podcast with Matt Harding and Matt Will. What a fine duo. And until next week, I'll think of something to say. So long.
Bye, guys.
This has been the Holy GrAHL podcast. Have a question or a topic suggestion? Hit us up on Twitter or drop us an email. For the latest news across the American Hockey League and the rest of minor league hockey, download the Field Pass Hockey app, now available in the Apple and Android app stores.